So I was informed that it is expected of me to say something about the health technology assessment regulation. And this is something which is a very important topic, because I think it shows us all the possibilities of EU-wide legislation, how we can make healthcare systems better, but on the other hand, also the limitations that we have in making decisions on the European level. Because I personally think that HTA is an issue which is very fragmented across the member states. We have very different rules on the HTA. We have different legal effects of the HTA. In some member states, you have very clearly prescribed procedures for the HTA, which finally result in legally binding decisions or recommendations on what is to be funded by the national healthcare systems as well. So in some member states, in some foreign member states like the UK, for instance, this is described in very much detail with very clear legal effects of HTA decisions. So in some member states, this is much less clear, much less transparent, and there is no, in many member states, there is no direct link between the HTA assessments on one side and the reimbursement decisions on the other. So I think that at least this part of the HTA, of course, without going into reimbursement, which is a national competence, but at least some harmonization of national HTA would be very much appreciated. And I think especially for smaller member states like Croatia, it would be a great thing to have this kind of a one-stop shop for health technology assessment on the European level, because that would make it unnecessary for us to conduct similar procedures on the national level. And so I think the overall idea and the concept and objective of the health technology assessment regulation, as it was prescribed, was very good. The whole idea was to supplant 27 national procedures of the HTA to substitute them with one to be done on the European level. Unfortunately, as I said, the decision-making process in the EU unfortunately made it impossible for this to happen. So you know that the legislative procedure on the EU level is such that the Commission proposes, and then Parliament and the Council, as co-legislators, have to come to an agreement. And unfortunately, on the HTA, where the Parliament was even more as ambitious, or maybe even more ambitious than the Commission in terms of legal effects of the HTA, of having this one European system of HTA, but how unfortunately the Council in the end, or some member states in the Council, especially larger member states, were the ones who blocked this from happening. And in the end, what they have is a watered-down solution, which instead of substituting 27 national HTAs with one European, instead of that, in addition to 27 national systems, we got the 28th European one. And I think this is definitely not a good solution. So instead of having clear legal provisions on one European procedure, which substitutes the national procedures, now we have only the fact that national authorities have to take into account the European procedure, which is definitely not legally very strong, which essentially means that member states have still a lot of autonomy to make decisions on their own, which I think is not a good solution. I don't think it will simplify the whole procedure. I think it will probably in the end make it even more complicated than it is now. Of course, a lot of member states will implement or very strongly take into account the European procedures, because it makes their job simpler. But since some other member states will not do that, then this fragmentation will still unfortunately remain. So HTA, I think, is a good case for missed opportunity, where it could have done a lot on European level, but the end result is not very strong. Of course, in addition to the HTA, in addition to this problem of not having clear legal harmonization of HTA on European level, the second important point is that the cost effectiveness and economic analysis is also not really very strongly part of the HTA on European level. It is prescribed in the regulation that this can also be part of it, but essentially the whole focus of the HTA on European level is not on cost effectiveness and economic aspects, but on clinical effectiveness, which of course is also very important. But having more transparent and more harmonized rules on at least criteria which can be used for cost effectiveness analysis of new medical technologies would also, I believe, would have also definitely definitely influence the national reimbursement decisions as well. We know that national reimbursement procedures are not in many member states very transparent. The only legislation that we have on European level of national reimbursement decisions is the Transparency Directive, which is 34 years old now, never been amended, which does not really contribute to having a more transparent and clear procedure, and it does not set some kind of common principles which member states would need to adhere to when making reimbursement decisions. So in the end, I also think that without this stronger link between the HTA and reimbursement decisions and economic factors being taken into account when making reimbursement decisions, the whole system on the European level will also not be very strong and will not contribute to stop this fragmentation that we have now on the national level in different member states. So we'll see how it will function in the end, whether these coordination mechanisms which are set up by the regulation, these common bodies and institutions, the national representatives, how far this will lead to some kind of real harmonization through exchange of best practices, etc., and to having some kind of a common European approach. But unfortunately, I think we could have done much better, much stronger, much legally clearer than the final result was in the end.